we can start now so that we get enough time for other activities. So once again, officially, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the two of the virtual summit of the Complete Single. And it's been quite an interesting one. I thank God for how we started yesterday. We started with the host, Pastor Dixon, who took us on how to overcome the eye syndrome, and it was quite a wonderful one. We were able to get so much insights on how we can overcome selfishness and always putting ourselves first, and learn how we can always consider our partner to make the relationship a smooth one, because it's not a one-man game, it's a team effort. And I hope that today also get to learn a very important lesson. So today we'll be having one of our facilitators take us no love, no trust, or no trust, no love. That is a very interesting and I will do the honors of giving us a brief citation of who our guest is today, and I hope that we all would enjoy that. But before I let the cat out of the bag, I would like us to start with a word of prayer, and no better person than to, open this session for us than a man that we all like, and for some of us we miss, and I can see he's in attendance. So, Pastor EKPENDU, would you please do us the honors of giving us the opening prayer so that we can start today's session?
Okay, let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we want to thank you for the privilege of meeting one another, though online, and for this task of making sure that our singles are on the right track, saved, sanctified, put aright for greater prosperity and conquest and victories. I therefore pray that today's program, this day too, shall be for our blessings and blessing of everyone that listens to us, that all that hear the presentation today will be in the right direction to move forward to greater height as well. Thank you, Lord, for answered prayers. And let this session be filled with the Holy Spirit. If I've prayed in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor. It's good to hear your voice once again. So
thank you, Patrick.
Today's session will be taken by the lovely wife of the man that just prayed for us, the man of God, Pastor EKPENDU. And I'm sure some of us, we have had one or two interactions with her. And she's a professional and a diligent university lecturer. She's also good with corporate and human resource management, public administration, and she has a track record of excellence in all these categories. And she's not new to seminars and conferences, as she has delivered so many excellent lectures and conferences around the world, US, Nigeria, UK, just to mention a few. And she consults with top executives on strategic planning, welfare, discipline, and how to oversee recruitment. She's a recruitment professional, and she has worked in HR at the Babcock University Teaching Hospital. She has amassed a large wealth of experience serving as customer service, public relations, and international business summit resource personnel. The accomplishments go on and on and on. And she's dedicated to service, and she has won so many numerous awards, and she has proven without time that she's good with management and administration. And we can see that with how she was able to come up with the Victorian Kids Foundation, a foundation that assists the orphanage and vulnerable children. And she gets these children to sing and do wonderful things. And she just recently got certified as a relationship mentor and coach for singles and marriage. So I'm sure that some of you that are here, you want to believe that you're in the hand of someone that is certified. So she's not going to be speaking of, she's going to be speaking from fact, she's going to be speaking from research, she's going to be speaking from experience and from the word of God. So currently she serves as the team leader at Ladis Community Care in the United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, she's married to Pastor EKPENDU, and they have lovely children, Winnie, Michelle, and the man of the house, Divine. So I'm sure we all can't wait to hear what Dr. CHIOMA EKPENDU has. And I'm sure that we all will benefit one way or the other from this beautiful and wonderful lecture. And if you have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or write it down. So when we get to question and answer segments, we'll just start dishing out questions. And I also like to plead with us that we should mute our audio so that we not have interference when she's talking, so that we have a smooth ride. And at the end of the lecture, we'll be able to interact with her, ask her questions if we have any. And I believe that we'll all learn from this. So without taking much of the time, welcome a good friend of mine, Dr. Mrs. CHIOMA EKPENDU. Over to you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick. That was a huge one. Thank you. I want to appreciate everyone. I want to thank my husband for being here today. I want to thank all my friends, my family. I know some of them are logging in and logging out. We probably didn't start quite on time, trying to see that everyone logs in. I'm happy to be here once again. Just like you said, I miss Babcock. I do miss Babcock a lot, and I miss everyone. Okay, today, thank you. We have already prayed, so I wouldn't go back to the prayers. I believe everyone can hear me. So if you can hear me, I just need one person or two to just say they can hear me. So
we can hear you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. The topic for today actually is a very sensitive one. A lot of people have been asking questions. They've been trying to factor in, why does my partner not trust me? He seems not to love me enough. He seems not to reflect what we value. She seems not to be that person who she used to be. Why is she different now? What's going on? What's going on with him? What's going on with her? And questions have been raised over time in relationships, especially when it comes to those who are in courtship, and as well to those who are even married, because people begin to question, do you love me? Do you trust me? If you trust me, why won't you accept what I'm telling you? If there is no trust in this relationship, that means the relationship is over. A lot of things have been coming up recently, and we have seen over time how relationships that have been so beautiful crumble in a twinkle of an eye. Little things make these relationships crack, break, and get destroyed. What do we understand? How is our perception about trust? What is our perception about love? That is why today our host and everyone who has planned this program. I don't know if Pastor Theodore Dixon is already online. They have put together this package and assigned me to say, okay, break down what trust is as it affects our current relationship in our present contemporary society. So looking at it, I would like to share my screen now. If you can see, I'll try. I think I have an assistant here with me. Okay. If Patrick is online, are you able to?
I'm online now.
Okay. I can see, I need to share my screen.
Yes, go ahead. Click the share.
The host
button.
needs to allow me share the screen now.
All right, Dr. Chibike, please give her the necessary permission to do that. I'm not a host, so I can't give that permission. Chibike will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see your screen now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she can share now.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Sorry, ma, before I continue, please, those that are just joining in, let's remember to mute our microphones so that we don't get disturbance from your side. Thank you.
Okay. So, well, the first slide already explains and tells you the topic for today: no trust, no love. How do we make our relationships work? So we're going to be looking at and concentrating on trust and love. Now, what is trust? A lot of people, different scholars, have brought up different definitions to what trust is. Everybody is saying trust is when you put everything, when you put your faith in someone, when you rely on someone, when someone is trustworthy and all. But for the sake of this presentation today, we'll be looking at trust in a different dimension. And looking at trust here, I would say trust, I don't want to skip, okay. Trust is an assured reliance on character, ability, strength, truth of someone or something, and basically on the individual that you have a relationship with. And I'll say it's also being sure, having that faith that your partner or whoever you're dating, you're marrying, you're courting, has got your back. So if we're looking at trust in the sense that, okay, this person has got my back, I believe that he won't let me down. I believe that when I move into this relationship or as I proceed, this person's character is reliable. This person is trustworthy. This person will always protect me, even when things go rough. A lot have different ideas about what trust is. Now, coming to the aspect of love. What is love? Love has been described by so many people to mean different things as well. And there's one that tickles me a lot of times when I remember it, because when I asked my students sometime in Babcock, I was like, what do you think love is? Everybody brought up what they felt love was. And obviously, if I'm to ask everyone here on Zoom tonight and ask, what do you think in your own idea? What do you think love is? Some people will say, well, love is sacrificial, love is a bond, love is that warmth, affection, feeling. Love is that unity that you share between one or two persons. Everybody will come up with different definitions of love, just like the scholars have got it. Now, just before I continue, I want to make one thing categorically clear, that when it comes to relationships between a man and a woman, whether single or married, has not got a particular template which you must follow. Yes, you read books. Yes, you're going to listen to teachers, preachers. You're going to watch a lot of things about love, trust, relationship, marriage. But I want to tell you the truth because I'm a realist. Love, relationships, marriage has got no particular template on which it runs. You create your own template yourself, because what works for me might not work for you. What works for the other person might not work for the other. So you need to pay attention to this carefully. So you look at where, because there are a lot of factors that militate either for or against what works for each individual. So going into love, love has been described in so many ways. And one of my students, when I was listening to them, came up to say that love is like a drug. You know, a lot of things, I don't know, in fact, I don't know their names. There are some drugs that when you take, you get so agitated, you'll be shaking. And until you've taken it, it's like, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay now. So someone described love that way. Now, if you love someone so dearly, there are situations that stare you in the face and you're like, oh, what do I do? And immediately you see that person, you're like, ah, oh, thank God you're here. You might be so worried, angry, and at the appearance of that individual, the whole thing just dissipates. And you're like, whoa. If someone is there, the person begins to wonder, what did you give to that person? So the person tries to describe love as a drug. But then, what do we see love to be? Some people have seen love. So, well, somebody said he finally understood what true love meant. That love meant that you care for another person's happiness more than your own, no matter how painful the choices you face. So, and this also made meaning because when you're looking at what true love is, this is when you actually care for someone's happiness more than your own, no matter how painful the choices might be, because we understand that love comes sometimes with pain. Love has to do with sacrifice. Even God himself, the word of God says that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Now, love has to do with giving. Love has to do with sacrifices. And these sacrifices, some of them might be a little bit painful, some might be not painful, but once you're talking about love, you cannot exclude the fact that there must be sacrifice, because even God himself gave. So sometimes when people say they love someone and they can't give, I begin to wonder, do you truly love this person? It doesn't matter how small. It doesn't matter how little. What are you giving? Some people will say, don't worry, I'll give moral support. Yes, you can give moral support, But most times people want to see physically what you can give. Because even when God gave his son, he didn't give his son just spiritually. He gave him both spiritually and physically as well. So when you profess that you love someone, you should be able to give your all. You should be able to sacrifice. Even when you say, oh, there is no time. I've been busy since morning. I've not been able to take your call. I've not been able to call you because I'm tight. Who said that? So throughout the day, you could not go to the toilet to wee. You didn't put anything in your mouth. If you can go to the toilet to wee or have a drink, water, you should be able to call that person who is your heartthrob to say, baby girl, baby boy, honey, sweetheart, treasure, where are you? How are you doing? I hope you're smiling now. You know, you just say something nice to that person. That means you actually love and you care for that person. So when we're talking about love, love is about giving, sacrifice. I don't want to overemphasize that, but I just want to move over to the love which I like. You know, the one in the scriptures. I like the Bible a lot, because when you're talking about love and you don't talk about God, then I don't know what you're talking about. Because for me, I know that everything about love is God. God is love. So if you're talking, love doesn't just happen. God is love. So when you're looking at love, I look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where it gives a sum up of what love is. It gives a proper definition, aside from what every other person has been saying, and that is the one I buy. It says, what is love? And Corinthians says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not selfish, it does not get angry easily. Love does not keep record of wrongs. That means you definitely might wrong that person. That means there could be an atom of quarrel. There could be an atom of dislike. Sometimes the house might be hot, cold, but then it says that it is not easily angered. There are some people, they'll tell you, I get angry easily. You know, in my family, it's a normal thing. We get angry easily. Is my thing. I get easily angered. Why would you get easily angered when the Spirit of the Lord is in you? You have love living in you, which you want to extend to someone. And you begin to claim for yourself that you're easily angered. Why is that? So the true definition of love is that it does not get angry easily. It is not selfish. You are not proud. You're not boastful. I have arrived. I am this. I am that. No, it does not keep any record of wrong. There are a lot of people who come out and they have a list. Last year, this was what you did to me. 2 months ago, you repeated another one that looks like this. Now you have started again. By the time you begin to say all this, you've started nagging. And obviously, your partner, who must have asked you for forgiveness the first time, asked you for forgiveness the second time, you're now trying to remind that person and open up the scars and the wounds again to remind her that she actually hurt you last year, 2 years ago, last month, and these are things that that person has decided to forget and sweep under the carpet. So love does not keep record of wrongs. Once there's an issue, treat that issue as it is. Don't go back to other issues. Just treat head on the issue on ground. Don't begin to reiterate what has happened in the past. It truncates love and brings about distrust. So love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. If you love someone and you don't tell the person the truth, I don't know what's going on. So you should it behooves on you to make sure that you tell the person the truth at all times. Love always protects. You're sure the person has got your back. You're sure there's not going to be any error. You know, so love always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. So once you love someone and you now say, oh God, I hate you now. Did you actually love that person? Did you actually forgive that person? Have you actually moved on, or you want to remain in the past? A lot of people have said a lot of things about trust. Trust is earned. A lot of people have said that trust is earned. Is trust earned? Well, we're going to be looking at that. But because I told you I love to quote the Bible, looking at Psalm 118 verse 8, it clearly says something. It says that it is better to put your trust in God than to put your confidence in man. What does that mean? Is the Bible saying we should not trust anyone then? When it says it is better, does it imply that God is the only one we should really, really trust, who cannot betray our trust? Because it's either you trust someone or you betray someone's trust. If someone has seen you to be trustworthy, do you want to betray the trust that has been given to you? So trust is built over time. And because we are human, living in a world of sin, considering some factors, probably environmental factors, whatever factors it might be, trust could be truncated. Now, looking at love, just like people have said that trust is earned, some people have said love is not deserved. It's something, is a relationship not deserved, unmerited. And 1 John 4 has got so much. In fact, I put it there that I was supposed to read it. It's a long one, but I'm not going to read it, don't worry. But it just tells us something and crowns it to say that, dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. So whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. So when you read down, you will see that he sent his son, and all I have said initially, that all we're talking about when we're talking about love is centered actually on God himself, to say that God is love. And it's an obligation. It's not a thing of debate whether you have to love someone or not. No. Even in Romans 13, it says, owe no man anything but love one another. We have to, because love is the fulfillment of the law. So it's a mandatory thing that we have to love. We love, why? Because he first loved us. So looking at some factors that contribute to trust, because I look at trust to also mean faith. If you have trust in someone, if you have faith in someone, are you faithful? Are you trustworthy? Can something be handed over to you? Because when you have come into a relationship to get married, or you're married, God has handed over to you that charming, handsome prince, or that charming, beautiful princess into your hands to take care of. And definitely, once something is handed over to you, you should be able to give account. You should be trustworthy. You should be faithful enough to say, my relationship is doing well because of the effort I have put in. Because if you don't put in effort in a relationship, just like we go to work every day, whether it's raining, there is sunshine, it's snowing, nobody wants to know. They expect you to be at work, and you make every provision to be at work. So it is for marriages. So it is for our relationships. You have to work it out. You need to put effort, extra effort every day to build on it, to make it strong, to make it firm, and to make it exactly what you and your partner want it to be. So some of these contributing factors is time. Time is of essence in every relationship. You need to put in time and work your relationship. You need to dedicate time to make sure it works. So once time is in that relationship, you build your trust. Communication. How do you communicate? What is your communication level? Have you sat down with your partner to say, at least this time, I should be able to call you to know how you're doing. Dedicate this time so that we can know how your day was, or how we're going to plan the finance of the home, or how we're going to move into the new home, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that, how we're going to put our things together. We need to discuss our families. We need to discuss ourselves and know what the future holds. We need to communicate effectively and have good communication system and style determined by both of you in order to build trust and faith in each other. Once you lose communication, there is a barrier. You must also add resources. Resources help to build trust and faith. What are these resources? Everything, it's not just about money. You need to bring your intellect. There are so many people who have told me they've tried so much to make sure that their spouses come up to the level, and their spouses, instead of growing and upgrading, they keep drawing back. You try to bring in your intellect, the knowledge you've got, your skills, your wisdom into things, and it looks like your partner does not value it. Sometimes you don't even bring in any resource. If you don't bring in any resource, how do you intend to grow that relationship? Your emotions, passion. How do you express yourself? How soft are you sometimes? How much do you look at the face of your partner to know when she's sad, to know when she's happy, to know when she needs a particular thing? You're able to depict and look at the person's eyes and face. I always tell people, someone can pretend all around and you might not notice. But when you look straight into the person's eyes, that's the window to the heart. The Lord has placed that window to the heart that does not deceive. Look straight into that person's eyes and know that person's feelings. Know how to pass your emotions. Emotions matter a lot in relationship. How do you perceive it? How are you able to manage it? How do you also pass on your emotion to someone else? Experiences. How have you been able to build experiences over time? Your experiences is what determines the trust level which your partner has got on you. You build experiences, and these experiences will tell your partner, okay, I know my husband now. I know what he's doing right now. I know his reaction to this. I know how he reacts when I do this. I know how he reacts when I don't do this. I know how my partner will react when I do certain things. All of these don't just come by magic. They come over time. Time of building experiences with your partner. How is your response management like? When something goes wrong, how do you kick in? How do you manage it? Are you sluggish? Are you, there's something, when my brother speaks about my husband, he will say, once you call my husband, that he calls him rapid response. Because before you call him, he's giving you answers, 1,000,001 solutions to the problem. How fast are you to respond when there's crisis? What do you do? when your partner needs you, everything is not about finance, like I had said earlier. How are you able to respond in managing this relationship? Now, how do we break trust? Somebody said trust is like a mirror, that once you break it, once broken, you can't fix it. And my daughter tells me you can use sellotape. I don't know. If you use sellotape, I don't know if the mirror will be the same. If you use glue, I don't know if it's going to be the same. But a lot of people have said, oh no, once you break trust, it's broken. And once broken, it's never fixed. And others will say, never lie to someone you trust. That you should never lie to someone that trusts you. And never trust someone that lies to you. How true is that? Let us continue. Somebody says, I love you, but I don't trust you. So can you decipher between the two? Is love separated from trust? How do we see love? And how do we see trust? Can both of them merge together, or do they stand alone? If I love someone, must I trust the person? If I trust someone, does it mean I have to love the person? These are questions we need to ask, and we'll come to terms with it. So we look at the 7 principles that John and Julie wrote on relationship as well, how to manage trust. And you see that trust has got a lot to do with love and commitment, because once you're in the marriage business, there is commitment. You're committed, that is going to last forever. It's meant to last. So how are we able to make our life dreams come true with our partners? How are we able to manage our conflicts? How are you able to accept your partner's influence? Obviously, your partner shouldn't be proud in the first place. How are you able to dialogue these problems? Just like I had talked about communication. How do you practice self-soothing to be able to manage yourself? Now, the positive perspectives, how to turn around instead of away, you turn towards instead of turning away. You face the challenge. You share fondness and admiration. You need to build love maps in order to build your trust. These are ways to get committed and love your partner. Then we look at this. Predictability, the first leg in trustworthiness. Are you able to predict your partner? If you trust your partner, you can say, oh, I know where he is. I know what he's doing. Are you able to do that? Are you able to depend on him? Are you able to depend on her? Have you got faith? These are the 3 legs in trust. But trust is one thing. Betrayal is what breaks trust. Violation of a person's trust or confidence. We're looking at the 4 forms of deceit and evidence of betrayal, because once you betray someone, once trust is broken, it's difficult to amend. So look at these 4 forms of deceit and evidences of betrayal. Being emotionally distant. Are you emotionally distant from her? Are you emotionally distant from him? You need to come to terms quickly as possible. Are you siding with a parent or sibling against your partner? You need to watch this. This is your world. That's your kingdom. You need to build it. It's both of you. If you make it beautiful, your siblings will be happy, your parents will be happy, and everyone will be happy with you. How are you able to manage your siblings, your parents, and even your friends in the midst of your relationship? Disrespecting the partner. How do you manage do you put your partner down? Do you make her feel inferior? Do you make him feel inferior? You disrespect him, especially in public. It should not be heard about someone's partner. Give your partner the best. In fact, let me tell you something. There's something my husband does Yeah, sometimes I make mistakes and I say things that I'm not too sure of. I could just say, oh, that thing looks like, and he's like, yes, it's true. And he's like, baby girl, nah, you missed it. It's not true. There are sometimes when you make a mistake in the public, you're not supposed to make your partner look stupid or like a fool. And later, come into the house and correct that person. Don't put her down. Don't put him down. Please. It does not work in relationships. Let's try our best, because these are some of the key factors to betrayal and distrust in a relationship. Breaking promises. You've made promises with each other that you're going to be together forever. And the next thing, somebody is calling. Somebody is pregnant for you. Somebody is having your child. Somebody is coming up with different stories about you from here, left, right, center. And at times you begin to see that those promises made, you say you were going to take care of me. You said I would go to school after our marriage. You said I was going to achieve this. You said I was going to do that. You said we're going to buy a television, and now you're using that money for your siblings. Was that our agreement? Breaking promises. How do we manage the promises we make? We need to be committed in our relationships instead of betraying our partners. We need to adore and cherish with passion, with closure, what you have. There's this proverb that says that a bed at hand is worth more than 1,000 out there. Cherish that which you have, because when you lose it, you know that you have lost something. It can never be like that anymore. So show gratitude for what you've got. Appreciate that person. Appreciate God for giving you such a charming and lovely person in your life. Let us dwell on that which reflects positivity and not negativity. Cherish what you've got. Show gratitude. Never compare your partner to anything or to either a real or imaginary ideal. There are some people who say, oh, my partner, if for example, we're all adults and we have watched a lot of movies. And I'll always, when I counsel, I'll tell people, when you watch movies and you watch sex on movies, what you see on movies is different from the real life thing. Don't begin to imitate what you're seeing, the life of celebrities, the life of people around you, and you begin to compare that and bring it into your relationship. That was why I started by saying that no relationship has got a particular template. You want your spouse to keep her leg up, down, upside down, put her legs down while you're making love to her. No, it doesn't work that way, my dear. It doesn't work that way at all. Because in marriage, you have to design your own style and method of having fun and enjoying yourself. So don't compare your partner, because the real life situations are different from the ideal things. And a lot of motivational speakers have killed the society today. They tell you a lot of stories and you begin to imagine and think that is the way it should go. No, please, reality, have in mind, is always different from the ideal or what people perceive it to be. A lot of people maximize negativity or the negative qualities of their spouses, and they minimize the positive ones. Then it begins to build resentment. They build resentment for what is not there. Oh, because your wife has not got these qualities. Oh, she's not got that curvy shape. She's not got that eloquence. She's not got that courage. You now begin to look at rubbish. A lot of there's this movie I watched, and a man was saying, oh, look at how big you are. Look at how fat you are. Everywhere is big, fat. This is not the wife I married. The wife I married was very slim, had figure 8. She was looking very slim and fine. I would like to take her out, go to the beach, you know, she'll flaunt her skin and all. But Who am I seeing? This is not my wife. Who made you this big? Why are you so fat? Look at everywhere, flesh. Go and exercise, you know? You're beginning to resent and look at the negativity instead of maximizing the positives in your spouse. And I'm beginning to ask, who made that woman big? Were you not the one taking her out, feeding her with a lot of things? And she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children for you, and you putting everything into her. She collected everything, and everything is in her body. Because you eat well, she has become fat. And you're still the one complaining. If she becomes thin, will you like it? You want her to remain the way she was when you met her. How possible is that for a woman who has got children? Obviously, you cannot remain the same. But the mind of the man will always reflect back on who she was and who she is, because she has given a lot. Her experiences, everything about her has gone into you and into the marriage. And you should begin to cherish her more instead of resenting her. So let us look at all the bad versus all the good. Because when you add up all of the negatives and minimize the positive, you have negative. You all just have negative things. And you begin to work up yourself, and the relationship begins to get sour. So today, let us all just withdraw back a little bit and look more on the positives. Even if it seems like the negatives are going up, minimize it. Calm down, elevate all the good, and see the good in your spouse. See the good in your partner. See the good in that person whom you cherish and want to call your own, or who you call your own, and you appreciate that person better. No trust, no love. Do we separate love from trust? Are we to separate love from trust? You love even when you can't trust. There are some people who have given answers to this, that you can actually love someone even when you can't trust that person. If you can't trust God, you cannot love anyone. So when someone has betrayed trust over and over again, it becomes difficult to trust that person again. But when that person has changed, it's difficult also to bring back that trust to the same level which it was. But then the chance to trust again is only possible when you love. If you truly love someone, then you can actually trust that person again, because love is from God. God is love. But then people will say, trust no man. But then whoever loves God must also love his brother. If we truly love someone, we have to trust that person. Trust, you would say, yes, to an extent. Does that person deserve a second chance? Why not? Why not? We all deserve a second chance in life. And Peter will ask, how many times should I forgive someone who has wronged me? And the word of God says 70 times 7, 490 times. Why won't I forgive and move on? For your partner whom you love, for that person who you cherish, for that individual whom you have called your own, there is something which I always tell people. When you love someone, there's something we call benefit of doubt. You don't trust that person, give that partner benefit of, just give that person a little trust. Because without trust, you cannot build your love on your partner. This now does not have to do with your business partner. For your business partner who probably must have deceived you several times, obviously, you don't have a reason to trust that person. But it is only when you love someone, unreserved, an unreserved love, that you can say, okay, I trust you that, in fact, there are some people who know that their spouses cheat on them. They trust them to cheat on them, but they love them all the same. Now, you could say that, yes, trust might not be there. But then there's this level of trust they have that their partner has got their back. If your partner has got your back, in a lot of things, we're human, we falter. And that is the point where I'm in now. Every one of us deserves a second chance. Every one of us deserves a second chance. Why do you need to grieve within your spirit and continue to grumble, and probably the love you share, you decide to just let it go and you break it? In marriage, once you love someone, try to continually work on your love and your relationship. Try to build that trust back. Try to build that trust back. It might take time, but give that person the room in order to build the trust back. Remain in it, not to death. Try to put yourself in the person's shoes as well. When you know someone's weakness, someone's fault, and someone's predicament, challenge, and concerns, and you have decided to love that person still, because love is when you know that someone has got some weaknesses, because nobody is perfect. You are not perfect. He's not perfect. She's not perfect. You know their weaknesses. You know their faults from where they are coming to where they are right now. And you have decided to go into that relationship irrespective of their faults, irrespective of their weaknesses, and have decided to trust them. To say, I trust myself, my life into your hands. Even though I know you have done this before, and you have done this, and you're still doing this, I still have the belief in you. I trust you. I have the hope that you will not fail me again. I have that belief that you will not fail. And if peradventure that person fails, my darling, I want you to hold on still. Don't give up. As long as God is present, because without God, you can do nothing. As long as God is present, I want to tell you, hold on. It will be all right. And I want to crown it by saying that a merry heart doeth good medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Try to make yourself happy. If you don't make yourself happy, nobody will make you happy. Don't dwell on the wrongs. Dwell on the good parts. Dwell on those nice things the person has been doing for you. Don't concentrate on the little things, those errors that come your way. Look away, because we're all human. And give yourself in to love that person, to trust that person, believing that all is well. I want to end here and allow you to give me your feedback now. I think it should be like 6 o'clock. Yes. Thank you. My email is just below, just in case. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma. I think we really appreciate this beautiful lecture, and no trust, no love. So without trust, we are just wasting our time. So if we have, I've not seen any question in the chat box, so I feel maybe want to ask our questions live. So if we have questions, please signify by using any of the actions or hand gestures. You can raise up your hand so that I can spot you and give you the needed audience that you need for your question. Anyone? I want to believe we can all hear me.
Yes.
All right. So
we can hear.
Okay, so please, it's reaction time. We have had the beautiful presentation that Dr. Mrs. CHIOMA EKPENDU has delivered to us. So it's time for us to get feedback from us. If you have questions from what has been said or any other thing. Okay, I can see Pastor Dixon has finally joined.
I have a question.
I have question, please.
Okay. So
I've been here.
oh, welcome, Pastor. I started the meeting on the road, but I've gotten home now. Have you gotten home?
Yeah, I'm home. I'm
Okay,
home too. I've been home, yeah.
Wow,
I have a
that's
question, please.
all right. So let's move into our question.
I also have one.
All right, so Angel, please start since you're already up. Then after Angel, next person would pick up. I can also see
okay.
Joe raising up his hand. So Ma, do you want to answer them question by question, or you want us to harvest all the questions first, then you answer at once? Which is preferable by you, Ma?
I think I prefer to take them one after the other.
All right, so Angel, over to you, Angel. The floor is yours.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Ma. Thank you for the outstanding presentation. We have been blessed, and we thank God for you. The question I want to ask is when you are in a relationship with someone, and you are actually knowing each other better, is it necessary or mandatory to to let the person know about your past, or is something that we should ignore or overlook? I don't know if it's necessary to talk to the person about your past. Let's say how you were before, or things like that.
Okay. You know, there's one thing about sharing your past experiences. It has its positive sides and it's got its negative sides. It's a very sensitive thing to do because your partner could, if the person is not mature enough, always refer and look at you to be someone as you have classified yourself to be in your past. But there's someone else who will look at it and is able to manage it. Now, how are you sure that your partner is mature enough to handle such sensitive information? There are certain informations that will benefit the person and help the person grow. And there are certain information that will possibly not benefit the person and will not help the person and will not help your relationship grow. But it's now for you to know, which information do I pass out? What information is going to help me? There's a man who had a child outside wedlock, but did not tell the wife he had a child outside wedlock until after so many years. And this affected the marriage in between. If it's for issues like that, please, you need to let your partner know before you start. If the person wants to love you all the same, the person will. But there are some sensitive issues as well that you need to let your partner, there's something you need to let the person know. All whatever has happened in your past was in your past and should remain in your past. Both of you are starting on a new slate. So you're supposed to let that person know that whatever must have happened in your past, as it helps to grow the relationship, you also need the person to understand that this aspect will not help, but rather you're starting on a new slate. You're starting on a completely new slate and new page. So the person should not refer to your past. If you think the person can manage that information, then good.
which, according to him, gives them the opportunity.
But if the person cannot manage that information, I'm sorry, you're going to be hurting yourself and hurting the relationship entirely. So that's where wisdom comes into play. You need to know what information you're sending out. You need to know the information you have to retain. Because if it's going to boomerang in your relationship, then it's not needed because that person does not need that information at all. The information that will not benefit the person does not need. There's something that is called unsolicited information. That information that will not grow your relationship, you don't need to pass it across. You don't need to pass it out. But that which will help you grow, let that person know and grow together in it. And those ones that you know that, later this thing might cause a lot of problems, let the person know on time and choose whether he or she is able to keep up with that relationship. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so thank you very much, Ma, for that beautiful response. Victoria, you are next with your question. Victoria, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, over to you.
All right. I wanted to ask because she made mention of trusting your partner or your spouse. So I want to ask that, in a relationship now, you're just starting.
In an interview.
So please, if you're not speaking, could you please mute your microphone so that we can hear those that have the floor, please? Thank you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Victoria, go ahead.
Okay, so she spoke about trusting your spouse or your partner, no matter what, even when things are not rosy or when things are rosy. So when do we now cut the line? Like, for example, now you're just dating a guy or a girl, and you just find out some things that are not right, seemingly okay, and then should we just keep trusting that the person because we love the person? Should we just keep trusting the person and hope that the person will change? Because we love the person, we need to still trust the person no matter what. So when do we cut the line that I don't have to move on, I don't have to go on with this relationship again, I think I can't trust this person? Or we should keep trusting and hoping that the person would either change or... Do you understand my question?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. Where do you draw the line? You have seen this person's weakness. You have seen this person's challenge. You are able to depict, to say, okay, this person is like this. Are you able to manage that? Because there's something my husband will always say, that an anthill before marriage becomes a mountain in marriage. What that means is that an anthill is just this tiny little hill that you can use, you can just level up. You just level it up immediately. Whatever you're not able to level up before marriage, tackle it before marriage. If you're not able to level that anthill, it becomes a mountain in marriage. Whatever you're not able to level up in your relationship, if you go into it without tackling it, managing it, getting a solution to it, becomes a mountain that a tractor, caterpillar, cannot level. Then there comes an issue. So what is the nature of that problem? That is why most times we have private consultation and discussion with our clients to find out what exactly is that problem. If we know what problem it is, we are able to advise to say, this one is a no-no. If it's something you can manage, then you have to look at it, sit down with your partner, communicate with that person to know what way, how you have to go about it. Because communication is always key. So you need to communicate with your partner to know what to do. So that relationship has to move on if you know and you are able to tackle that challenge. If it is something that will kill you, my darling, I'll advise you to put a stop to it. But if it is something you think, okay, I know your weakness. Obviously, you have yours too. I can put up with this. If you're sure you can put up with it, then go ahead. But if it is not, put a stop before it proceeds, because the Lord has given you room to make your choice. And again, trust is a choice. You choose who to trust. I've chosen to trust my husband, and no matter what you tell me, I am sorry. I trust him. So I have chosen to trust him. You need to choose who to trust and what to trust. Someone was telling me that he trusts someone to lie because the person is always lying. So I trust that person to always lie. So choose who to trust. And once you do that, that settles it. What is that situation that you need to exercise trust in? If it is something deadly, my darling, please put a stop to it. And if you cannot tackle it now, it's going to become a mountain in marriage, which you cannot handle. So watch it.
All right.
Thank you, ma.
Okay.
All right.
No.
Joel, are you with us?
No, different than that.
Yes, I'm right here.
All right. So Joel, over to you. I saw your hand up.
Let me request that those who are not speaking officially should please mute themselves, because these sessions are recorded. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pastor. So Joel, over to you, please.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, madam. Good evening, doc, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the presentation. Quite an expository one. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I just want to have, I have two questions. One of them will be like a continuation of the first speaker's question, or the first person who asked the question, actually. In the course of answering that question, I'll just begin from there. I thought you were going to give a kind of like an example on the kinds of sensitive issues that should or shouldn't be discussed. Although you talked about one that we should discuss, which of course has to do with maybe a person having a child outside of wedlock. But I thought you were going to give, some kind of sensitive issues, because if it is, I feel the answer given was kind of open-ended, and it will be dependent on the person to decide whether it is going to be let out of the bag or not, because you said wisdom is profitable to direct in that angle. So some persons may decide that, okay, this is not something that I should talk about, whereas it probably should be something they should talk about. So maybe if you could give one example of some kind of sensitive issues that may probably be left in the past. Okay, that's on that. Then I just want to ask, issues of trust, are they hereditary? Is it possible for someone to have trust issues and then it could be hereditary? Is it possible to have that kind of assertion to say that someone's trust issues, maybe you look at the father or the mother and then they've always been having issues of trust, and then you feel that, okay, this person is just towing in the same line. Okay, that's on that. Then the final one is, what level of doubt is fine? Because I'm going to be taking this question from the very first text that you shared, which is from Book of Psalms. Do not put your trust in man. Okay, so if we are told to not put our trust in man, and we are going to be trusting our spouses, and our spouses are humans, that trust, is it absolute? What level of doubt should we give them? And if, of course, they meet with that level of doubt, can we say actually that we did not trust them? because we doubted that they could actually fail, since they, of course, are humans. All right, so that's my question.
Okay, so you asked 3 questions in one. We're going to take it one after the other. I don't know if Patrick took down those questions. I didn't take it down, so you could, as we move, you can repeat on them again. So the first one you asked was about the examples, right? On probably what someone might call back in the past. Say, for example, used to. Let's say, for example, you used to steal. You were like a killer. Used to steal and kill. And now you have changed. And then you begin to tell your partner what it has been, what you've been in the past, but what you are now. That used to kill, used to steal, used to do this. And your partner now begins to look at you like, hey, so this my husband is a thief. Maybe when I have children now, my children will be armed robbers. You know, there are also some sensitive issues. Obviously, we know a lot of sensitive issues. Okay, most especially when it has to do with relationship. You've dated this one before, my ex, this ex, you have 20 exes, you have this ex and the other one. What happened with your last ex? What happened with your first ex? And then there are some of these informations that are not even necessary. I don't know which one you want to like pin your hands on, to be honest. But when you're looking at, because that's why I say consultation in this regard is done individually, because we don't know what it could be. What do I need to tell my spouse? That is why I leave it. It looks like it's open-ended, yes, because it's based on some of your experiences that the person builds trust on you. And if you make a mistake from the start, that's the way it's going to continue. The way you make your bed is how you're going to lie on it. So that's why I said you need to be sensitive and be wise to know what information is passed across. Because if I begin to cite examples, it could work for some people, it could not work for others. So that is why it's like open-ended. So let's leave it at the fact that you choose what you can manage. I wouldn't tell you what you should be able to manage. What I'm able to manage might not be what you are able to manage. So at the beginning or at the inception of your relationship, make some of these things known. It's not every information that is needed to build your relationship. So as long as it's not needed to build your relationship, why give it out? Because it might lead to distrust in future, especially when there's a little mistake or error. That's for that. Now, looking at the second question. I hope I remember what it is. Can you remind me, please?
Yes, I said issues of trust. Could they be hereditary? I was looking at the example of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob in that line.
Okay. Issues of trust, are they hereditary? It could be. It could also not be. Why I say it can be is because there are a lot of inherited tendencies which is reflected in the lives of people today. Because of their background, their upbringing, and what they saw in their homes, they tend to reflect the same thing. I grew up to see my parents eat together. So in my home, I eat together with my husband. I grew up to see my parents bathe together. So anytime I'm going to have my shower, I have my shower with my husband. And when he feels like we have to play in the shower, we do, because it's his right and it's a pleasure. So if I see we pray together every morning and every night in my family and in my home where I come from, and because of that, in my present family, we have our morning devotion, we have our evening devotion, and when there needs to be fast, we fast, because these are the things I learned as a child, and I brought them into my home. And even as a child growing up, my father made me believe that I am the best and will always be the best in all I do. So I should carry myself with that flair that I'll always be productive, effective, and efficient. So because of that, I carry myself with that flair because he has taught me to be so. Now, some people also in their marriages, in their relationships, bring in as inherited things from their homes into their current relationships, and this affects the relationship. So at this point, I would say that the only person who has got the power to change both acquired tendencies and inherited tendencies is God. Because the person does not just distrust you from just inherited. It can be from influence, peer influence, other extended family influence, influence from what they watch, what they see. So it might not just be inherited alone, my darling. It can be from exposures. Environmental factors can contribute to it. So a lot of things can contribute to someone distrusting you. So they can bring it from their families, yes. It can be inherited, yes. It can also be acquired. But then, a family built on God will always depend on God, and it is only God who has got the power to change both acquired tendencies and inherited tendencies. So any relationship built that is not built on Christ, the solid rock, has got every tendency to shake. The foundation will shake. And if you're not careful, it will crumble, because God is love. So when God is not present, that's when you will see broken homes continuously. But let God sit at the center of your home and manage it for you, and it will be well. I don't know the last question.
Thank you, ma'am. Before you take the last question, I just want to add to these beautiful responses you have given. You have become a very serious philosopher, and we are enjoying your responses. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I came in from Lagos. We went for a wedding. Added to the
that's wrong with everyone in the last 3 years.
Adeze, please mute yourself. Added to the environment motivated tendencies or the acquired tendencies, we also have our temperaments, because we all need to pay attention to our temperaments and what they make us do. Let me give you an example. The super sanguine as a person is a talker, and those who talk, sometimes they don't know when to stop talking. They talk and they talk everything that you have entrusted in their hands. Sometimes they talk and they vomit their intestine. Okay, there are people. Dominant melancholics are highly dependable persons. If you find people who are melancholics, those who are perfectionists, they don't share. If you make them friends, they are friends forever. So for such people like that, you can trust. They don't trust easily, But when they trust you with their life. They can be friends with you forever. So our temperament combinations can predispose us into, whether into being trustworthy or into also giving trust. If let me give you my experience. I don't share my personal issues outside. I share with my wife. I keep it. Before I share something personal with you, I have weighed you so hard because I'm a perfectionist, melancholy. Before I share something personal with you, I have assessed you properly to be sure that that thing I have shared with you stays with you. So, as a young minister, when I started my ministry, we were asked to find mentors. So I found one mentor, a senior minister, and then I shared with him what was going on, a challenge that was going on in my family. Guess what happened? Another minister saw me another time and said, "Oh, I'm praying for you. I heard about what happened, and I'm praying for you." And I know I have not shared with two people. It was only one person. That was kill and divide. So some persons have some negative attitudes that may not necessarily have been acquired, but out of carelessness, we just talk. We talk carelessly, and we're not even mindful of how destructive our carefree talks can be in our relationships. So we need to watch ourselves, check your tendencies as a person. If you have come from a family where there are perfectionists, you can be sure that whatever is in that family stays in the family. People will not share, they keep quiet. In fact, there are families you go to, like our presenter has said, family culture. We have a family in my village that if they are fighting as siblings and somebody comes to the compound, they laugh, hides everything, they cover it up. An outsider must not hear that they are fighting. Whatever divides them stays with them in that family. So it's important that we check our tendencies. It's important that we check our family patterns. If your family pattern predisposes you to, talking anyhow, or not being able to keep secret, watch it out, because it can actually destroy your relationship. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I appreciate so much.
All right, so I think we're done with the questions from Joel, right? Or is there one more that's not been answered? All right, so I have a question here in the chat that I would like to read, then you address that. Isaac, Ogbonna is asking, when you don't trust your partner but still love her, is it proper to quit the relationship? So you don't trust your partner, but you still love that third partner. Is it proper to end the relationship?
It's difficult to go into that relationship without trust, because if you don't trust, that means you don't believe the person can get your back. That's what it means. You don't believe that person can protect you. Because from what we read in Corinthians, speaks it up. It says love, trust. So if you don't trust your partner, trust does not mean absence of mistakes. It does not mean absence of weakness. It means there's something our people say, Amara Ahara. But children might be able to translate it. Amara Ahara, you know somebody's weakness, but then you are able to let it go. It does not mean you can't trust that person. Trust goes beyond that, because I think a lot of people misunderstand trust and error. If somebody makes a mistake now as a human being, it doesn't mean the person can no longer protect you. It doesn't mean that you can no longer trust that person as your spouse or your husband. It doesn't mean that you're going to hate that person. But then For a relationship called marriage to foster and grow, there must be that presence of trust. If you're talking about a business partner, if you're talking about maybe a sibling or someone else or your neighbor or colleague, you can love that person and not trust the person. In fact, there are some colleagues you trust, but you don't even love them. But when it comes to that Christian courtship or Christian relationship in marriage, trust has to be present. If not, then you're doing nothing. I don't know if I'm able to answer that question.
Yes, you have done justice to that, and that is even the topic of the lecture: no trust, no love. All right. So the second question I have here in the chat is can one trust a partner who always shies away from important or deep discussions, like talking about how the home should be? So he's asking, I have a partner, but when I'm trying to ask important or deep question, the person is, trying to gloss over the whole issue and avoid such questions, especially when it has to do with matters of how the home should be.
Now, sometimes we don't know when to discuss issues. Have you chosen the right time? Have you chosen the right place? Have you chosen the right words to your partner? Because sometimes we do things the wrong way and expect to get results. Choose the right location, choose the right time, and choose your words and your tone. Because if that person is truly your partner, you should be able to talk about it. What else is he doing? What else is she doing that you cannot discuss about how the home will be run? You need to build communication. Communication builds trust. Without communication, trust cannot be fostered. So there must be that communication in the relationship to make it work. Without communication, there is no trust. In fact, how would you even build your trust? How would you build your love? You're not communicating. So create the appropriate time, the right place, choose the right words. You can take the person out for a dinner, a lunch. Let it just be both of you. Look straight into the person's eyes. Tell the person the reason why you have invited him or her to that dinner. It could be in the house. It could be on the bed. And you tell him tomorrow, I would like us to have a discussion. Give the person their time. Let the person create time, because if the person is distracted, the person will not be able to talk about it. So why don't you get the right time, the right place, the right words, choose your tone correctly, and express yourself as a partner, as a loved one that you are. Let us use our emotions to appeal to our partners. All of this will help build the trust.
Wow, thank you very much. You have done justice to that. I can see this is Chinaza smiling in the background. So that means that you're making so much sense. Yes,
that's my little sister, my kid sister.
So she's saying big sister is doing well. Big sister is doing well.
Yeah, so, all the way from Umuahia.
Wow, that is lovely. So we have Henry and Chidema already lining up with their questions, and I can see a new hand. So
Chidema's hand has been up.
So those are the 3 hands I'm seeing so far. So we'll address those hands. If there's still time, we'll move over. So if you have questions, please, you can just send them to the chat box as fast as possible. Hopefully we'll have time to address the questions. So from what I can see here, Henry goes first. After Henry, Chidema. So Henry, over to you.
All right. Good evening, Ma. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Henry.
Thank you very much for that wonderful lecture. And in fact, it's imparting. And my question is this. I want to know, in a long distance relationship, because we talked about long distance relationship, And so in a long distance relationship, what should be the basics for trusting my partner? Is it when she's vulnerable to me or when she's communicating with me? Because when my partner is not communicating with me, I don't feel that trust. I don't really trust what's going on. But when she's communicating, you know, the trust is, I feel like, okay, since she's with me, she's talking to me always. I don't think there's any other person she's talking to or she's giving that time. Or when she's telling me what goes around with her or what happens within her and everything. Like, what should be the basis of me trusting my partner in a long distance relationship? Should it be at the point of when she's vulnerable to me or she communicates very well to me, with me?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, in Genesis, the Lord created man and woman and kept them in the Garden of Eden. And then the serpent came and deceived Eve. The serpent came and deceived Eve. And when the serpent came and deceived Eve, Eve gave to the husband, but the husband was not deceived. Now, when God created Eve, he created Eve so that man would not be alone. In every relationship, the man should not be, men and women who are intending to get married could be away from each other for a while. But when married, they are meant to be together. Because when there is that distance or that gap in the relationship, the enemy has an inroad into that relationship and begins to cultivate where, or begins to reap where he did not sow. So we need to be sensitive of the fact that distance causes a lot of problems in relationships and marriages. And the only thing that can bring or that can mend this is your communication level, like you have mentioned. Sacrifice, dedication, attention to that relationship. So because the person is not close by, you can't know what the person is doing. Now you're walking by faith and not by sight, believing that that partner is still yours and believing that the level of communication she's giving you is adequate. But if it does not go down well with you or is not adequate with you, please watch it, because communication is key. You can only spend time with someone you love. If you don't love someone, you don't spend time with them. And communication is a resource that you give out to a loved one because it takes time. Time for me is money. Time is worth a lot. So if your partner cannot give you time, watch it. They come up with different excuses why they are so busy they can't communicate with you. Watch it. Because communication is key. I rest my case.
All right, well rested. So, Chidima, over to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Choba.
Good evening.
I must really commend you for this wonderful lecture. The presentation was really impactful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You talked so much on about nurturing love in a relationship and how communication will help solve issues that borders on trust. My question is, how many times should trust be broken before you give up on trusting your partner? What I mean is, what do you do when trust is broken multiple times? We all know that ideally, practically, it's easier said than done, especially when it has to do with matters of the heart. When the heart is involved, it's really a very sensitive issue.
Yeah.
You know that issues about communication, there are issues that communication alone will not solve. Even when you have that communication over and over again with your partner, and you see that it's just hitting the ceiling, like there is a glass ceiling up there, and it's not having any headway. So what do you do when that trust is broken multiple times? Do you give up trusting your partner, or do you just leave the relationship and hope that something good? Because the truth is, communication alone might not solve issues that borders about on trust. So I want to know, how many times do you need to, at what point do you stop trusting a partner when he has broken that trust multiple times? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for your partner or whoever, obviously, for whoever it is that has broken someone's trust over and over again, you keep on forgiving and believing and hoping that all will be well. And the person keeps on promising you, I'm not going to do it again. And the person breaks the promise again, I'm not going to do it again. The person breaks it again. My darling, that person has not come to terms with what he or she wants to achieve with that relationship. He or she has not come to terms to say, okay, we need to move on. I need my relationship with you to progress. Because if you've come into a relationship and trust is broken over and over again, it is difficult to trust that person again. That is the truth. You can only trust that person again if that person has truly changed. And over time, you have seen that those temptations have come the person's way, and the person was able to come over through it or to win. But when the person breaks your trust over and over again, it is the most difficult thing to trust that one again. But that is where I now still come back a little bit to say, what does that person know about love? Where is the place of God in that relationship? Because if there is God in that relationship, the person should understand that if I love you, I should not betray that trust and confidence which you have in me. But then, you cannot also put communication aside, because if there is that communication and the person is telling you the truth, say for example, the person has come to tell you, these are my weaknesses. He keeps staring me on the face. But I promise I don't want to go back to it. And you have accepted to say, okay, well, this is the challenge. This is a very huge challenge. I don't know whether their village people follow them come, or whether your village people deal with you here. Sorry, I'm speaking vernacular. You know, that is one term that we use. You sure say your village people not follow you? Because this is something you do repeatedly, and you seem not to change, as if you're possessed by a different demon. Now, if there is the place of God in your partner should be able to reiterate and maintain. But where your partner has consistently broken that trust, you need to sit back, and both of you will need to review that relationship. You need to review your relationship, because there needs to be that presence of trust for a relationship or marriage to foster. So both of you need to come to a round table to say, this is what I want. And more so, because you know that you have chosen who to trust and why you have to trust that person, and you have chosen that, okay, these are some errors which I need to overlook, these are some errors which I cannot overlook, then you decide in yourself if you think you can actually overlook all of the distrust which he has brought up or she has brought up and continue. But if you cannot cope with it, I think you will need to sit down on a round table, review it, and talk to God again. Because it's very difficult to continue in a relationship where trust is broken continuously. Though the word of God still says, how many times will I forgive? And he says 70 times 7. Forgiveness here, trust here can also play out. Should I trust him? Can I rely on him? If you have tried to rely on him and he has let you down severally, you need to come back to the table, sit down and discuss and know, where is this relationship headed? Because trust has been broken severally.
Wow, thank you very much. I can see Pastor Dixon's hand, so I would like to skip protocol and confirm so that if he has a contribution or something before we move to the other hands. All right, go ahead, Pastor.
Yes, thank you, Dr. CHIOMA, for your explicit answer. I want to take it from another point of view. And my question will be, what if this person who is the victim now of broken trust has actually wittingly or unwittingly set the stage for such kind of abuse of trust? And you ask me, what do I mean? Many times we bypass the love triangle. We make commitments to people who we don't know in the name of love. When you meet somebody for the first time, you are all over the person is all over you. You know, there are feelings, the feelings, you know, get burning, you know, passion gets burning. And the next thing, instead of taking time to cross over to the other side to intimately understand the person, know the person, you make commitments. Now, when commitment is made based on feelings, the result will be that this person that you have committed your heart to does not actually understand the value of your heart. And so it becomes easy for the person to keep breaking your heart because you didn't know the person before you made a commitment. And I have always said that commitment without intimacy is like giving a 2-year-old boy fresh egg to keep for you while you go to the market and come back. Obviously, that 2-year-old boy will break the fresh egg because he doesn't know the value. So it's important to go back and check, did I really understand this person before I made this commitment, before I gave my heart? Because when we talk about broken trust has to do with heartbreak. So it's important that we find that paradigm very well. The other thing also has to do with, sometimes our expectations of our partners become overbearing, that we set standards for them that even ourselves are not able to meet. When you set the standard for your partner and that standard is in the sky, you even know you cannot meet it, and then you turn around and tell the person that the person has broken the confidence, but you know you cannot keep that promise. That is also an infringement. So let us place expectations that are attainable, and then that can help us in our relationships. The other thing I want to say is that before we go into relationships, it's important to find out or to be prepared. Dr. EKPENDU has mentioned a part of it. There is need for emotional maturity. There is also need for spiritual maturity. Don't just start a relationship because somebody is of age. Find out the level of the individual's maturity before you make commitment. Ordinarily, before people go into relationships, they should be emotionally mature. And people who are emotionally mature respect, they know the implications of breaking somebody's heart or living a life of distrust. Somebody who is spiritually committed, like the presenter has said, we fear God. And those who fear God will not toil with the heart of other people because they understand the consequences. But when you are in a relationship with someone who doesn't appreciate these values, or somebody who does not share the same values with you, all of these somersaults will continue to happen. So for those of you who have not said yes already, please look well before you leave. But for those of us who are married, in case you are going through some of that kind of situation, the point is to retract and ask yourself, did I jump the gun somewhere? Did I make commitment ahead of intimacy? If that has happened and you're already in the relationship, like the presenter has said, the thing to do is not to walk away. It's to try to go back and begin to form friendship. It will take some time, but it's possible. You can find time to stay together, begin to attain vulnerability, because sometimes factors that inhibit trust is actually not being able to open up to your partner. Share your fears with your partner. Let the person know that these things that you do actually break me into pieces. Okay, what do you want me to do so they can stop doing this to me? You know, ask the person. Don't just give the person, don't do this, don't do this. Tell the person, what do you want me to do for you so they can stop doing this to me? Because each time you do it, it actually hurts me. When you come from the perspective of not putting burden on the person, but putting burden on yourself, the person will not feel guilty or feel that you are just rubbing it on him. And somehow, both of you can reach a level of compromise, and trust can be established again. Like the presenter said, we can actually build trust, no matter how broken our trust may be, if we trust in God. And then remember that you too have broken your trust with friends, family, and God. And when you broke that trust, you actually wanted forgiveness. You actually needed it. Yeah. And when it came, you were happy. But sometimes we discover that people who have broken our trust may actually be struggling with so many things. They may be struggling with inferiority complex. They may be struggling with insecurity. So why don't you step out of your own world and try to enter into the world of the person and find out what exactly is wrong with the person? Maybe you can be a channel of assistance. And when we remember how much God has forgiven us, then we are willing to forgive others as much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pastor. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Time is fast spent, but okay. Let's quickly hear you.
Adeze and Victoria.
Yeah, I still have some chat questions, but let's take the this one's first. Okay, so over to you.
Right, thank you. First of all, thank you, Pastor, for that. And thank you for the opportunity to ask my question. And one thing I want to ask is something the pastor touched on is being open with your partner. I mean, Dr. CHIOMA has said something about how you communicate your past and how it affects the relationship. And for me, it feels like, I feel like I appreciate when I know the entire story, because we are now open. Then for me to now come to surprises later on and say, oh, so you were hiding this, what, because I feel like if I like you and I know the entire story, it doesn't really matter. It just improves the situation. And my question is, does being clever with how you share that information about your past, does that kind of breed a form of distrust? And that's my first question. And my second question is about, you have someone you like, but how do you pitch the idea that, okay, I need you to improve in this area? Without being, without being hurting our feelings or being hurt. And thirdly, I would like to ask what resources or recommendations that have helped you in your marriage journey that you can advise for singles or people intending to get married, and maybe you can share more about your service as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be very fast on this because our time is ticking. Your first question is how that you're able to accept whatever. Your level of maturity and the level of maturity of another person cannot be the same. You accepting whatever anybody tells you or you want to hear the whole story, you might be able to manage it in your maturity. Not everybody can manage that. So now, how do you know who can manage information? Because information is power and it determines a lot of things. If you're able to manage that information, is your partner able to manage the information you're about to give to her? Now, that's why I said that you need to know what information you have to pass across. There are a lot of sensitive issues that have happened in people's past that have destroyed their marriages in the present. Not because of what they did in the present, but what they did in the past. Not that it actually reflected in their marriage, but because people just started brewing up things and the next thing, the marriage crashed. Now, ability to manage information is something you need to find out if your partner can do. Is she mature enough? Is she mature enough to carry those informations? If you want to hear the whole story, that's fine and good. If your partner can manage the whole story, that's also good. But at times we claim we can manage these informations, but at the end of the day, they come haunting us back. So that is why there is need. This thing called relationship is a matter of life and death, and it has to do with the heart. So how do you guard your heart against some information? What if the person gives you the whole information about her, and now you end up not marrying her, and this, or marrying him, and this information filters outside? How do you think the person would feel? These are some things we need to think about first in relationships, because not so many information is needed for that relationship. Why? Because you're starting on a new slate. Watch that person's character. Watch the person as you court. If there are certain things you don't like, let that person know nicely. For you to let that person know nicely, first of all, project the good things. Like I said, elevate and uphold the positives more than the negatives. Flatter the person with love, with care, attention. Tell the person how affectionate both of you are to each other. Tell her the things you like about her. Tell her the things you like about him. Then tell him, but there's just this one thing I would have loved you to change. If you can do this, kudos to you. Say it nicely and lightly, but with firmness. Take the person out. Give the person the right room, time, place. Tell the person how good the person is. Let the person know the good things first before you now say, okay, this is what I would like you to change. Is it possible? Or is there a way I'll treat you? Is there something you want me to do? Just like Pastor had said, that will make you reduce this or do this. If the person has weight like myself, you might say, okay, do you mind me going with you to the gym? I would like us to go to the gym together. Though I like the way you are, but if you drop 1 or 2 pounds, that would be fab, you know, and that's fine. I'll say yes, or I'll say no, I cannot. My body is heavy. So that's also another way. The last question I can't remember. Can you remind me, please?
Yeah, sure. I was wondering what like recommendation or services has helped you in your marriage journey, and I would like you to talk more about the your service that you mentioned for consultation. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, what helped me in my marriage journey is my family background. The way my mom manages my dad and the way my dad manages my mom, how I saw them grow while I grew. Now, looking at my parents, they're like my very good examples of a good marriage. Though there could be some challenges, which probably I don't even know. There could be, but I didn't see. But whatever challenge it might have been, all of this helped me grow to become who I am. One. Secondly, my faith and relationship in God. I had to develop a relationship with God. where I could talk to God as my friend. Everything about me, I tell him. Whatever it is, no matter how minute, I let him know. And I give it to him to order my path. So that whatever makes me, whatever will make me unhappy, definitely I know it will make him unhappy. So he should tailor whatever it is. And in fact, there's this thing people always say, that's not the right man for you. That's not your husband. Your husband will come. That's not your husband. Your husband will come. And when I was in the verge of getting married, I'm like, when people say that's not your husband will come, I'm like, yeah. Let me see how this husband will come. And I now resolved to say, God, I'm not waiting for the right man to come. I want you to make that man right for me. Because I want my friend. I want to get married to my friend. I want someone who I can go to the beach with. I want someone who I can be myself with. I don't want to pretend. I want to be real. I don't want to be sad. I want to be happy. So I want a friend and not a husband. I never looked for a husband. I never looked for a man. I wanted a friend. So I was looking for my friend to marry my friend. So when I saw my friend, I didn't look at whether he had plenty money or he did not have. I knew he had weaknesses. I didn't care because I knew I'll be able to manage those weaknesses. And I'm like, Father Lord, he might not be perfect, but make him perfect for me. I am not perfect myself, but make me that adequate woman whom he needs. Fashion me in that way so that I'll be that perfect woman for my husband. So here now, God comes into play and I relied wholly on God. Now, I also read a lot of books on relationship. Aside from the Bible, I read a lot of books. The Young Woman, Young Man, Art of Communication. These are a lot of books in ABC stores. All those relationship books in ABC stores like this. I finished them. I even had some in the university where some of my friends had to borrow. I had to fight for some to return them. So I read a lot, but then these were Christian books which taught me the godly way. Without God, you can't have a stable home. I'll repeat. So channel everything towards God. And there's one other thing people fail to do. When I was having my relationship, this helped me. My mom used to have a bakery. We used to bake in quantity. A lot of people know that. We bake granola, we make peanut butter, we make bread. We just bake a lot of things. When my friends come to visit me, I don't leave what I'm doing to attend to them. But they have to join me in the work. We used to have farm where we farm, even close to my house. If I'm in the farm and you're my guest, my darling, you're going to help me to weed. You will help me to pack the weed while I cut the grass or while I weed the farm. Or while I'm frying my gari, you have to help me as well. You sit down beside me and be putting the fire in so that my gari can be moving well. And if you want me to have discussion with you, you help me so we can finish the task early and talk. But most people feel that when they become a different person, like being the slave queens of these days, that is when they're attracted to the right people. No, let God make that man right for you. Whether you're in the farm, you're in the garden, you're baking your bread and getting burnt. In one occasion, I got burnt with the oven fire. I got burnt from head to toe. My husband also, he was there. And all of this happened. All of these experiences added to our growth in the relationship. Be yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I can literally smell and feel the passion in that response. Adeze, I think,
hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Adeze.
We are good, right?
Pastor CHIOMA. So much. You have done. In fact, you have kept me at the edge of my seat. I can't even move. Thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, everything has been said. I've learned a lot. But she said that one of her statements, and I want to tell you this statement. He said, "Sweetheart, I love you to issues. I love you, but I don't trust you." Thank you.
Okay. Though I didn't get that clearly.
I love you so much, but I don't trust you. How do we reconcile these two words?
Well, I love you so much, but I don't trust you does not come into a marriage relationship.
But it's about marriage. It's in the life of couples. That's what will happen. So how do we tangle this? It's a puzzle. So how do we untangle it? I love you, but I don't trust you. Something would have led to that. So what do we, at this point, how do we unravel it?
Okay.
Yeah.
In a relationship, in a marriage relationship, you love your husband or you love your spouse, but you don't trust the person. Then what's the essence of being in that relationship when you don't trust the person? Love is all about trust, I would repeat. You have to have that level of trust in your partner to marry your partner. If there are certain things you can't manage, then you sit down and talk about it, because trust must be present in every home, because love trusts. So when people are saying, I love you, but I don't trust you, is that person your colleague? Is that person a distant relation? Is that person just the mandatory kind of love that the Bible said we owe all men love, brotherly love? But if it has to do with a marriage relationship, there must be that trust, that level of trust, which must be exercised, that has kept you going in that home. If it's not present, you have to sit down and talk about it.
Have you finished, Ma? Have you finished
Pastor,
answering that question?
yeah, Pastor, you can go on.
Thank you. I want to say that in a marriage relationship, unconditional love cannot exist without trust. In fact, mutual trust is foundational for whatever we call love. You know, sometimes we use this word love. We don't actually, understand the full meaning. Let me not say the meaning, because the full meaning of love. Love is supposed to be unconditional. And the moment you have elements of mistrust towards your spouse, your love for him or her goes down. That love becomes questionable, because the next thing that happens is that you begin to withdraw, you begin to be suspicious. So something has gone wrong with the love. And not until that trust issue is fixed, true love cannot actually happen anymore. So to say I love you, yes, but maybe you can say I love you to an extent, but I don't trust you. But to say I love you wholeheartedly, yet you don't trust the person, that equation can never balance, because love, trust is a very strong ingredient that facilitates, love. And let me also add by saying that when people have issues with trust, most times it functions with insecurity and not being able to open up to your partner because of certain fears. I think those fears should be dealt with, like Dr. CHIOMA has said, and then both of you can be fine again. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, sir. So, Mr. Host, sir, we're in a dilemma. It's 7-9, and we have 2 hands and about 3 questions in the chat box. So what do I do? Do I take all the responses, or what do we do with this situation on our hands, sir?
Well, I would suggest you read out all the questions or let them ask all the questions, and then she will answer straight without interruption.
Okay. All right. So, Victoria, over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I was just, when people were asking questions, I was just thinking about it, that all these communication issues, trust issues, and all that, how were our mothers doing it, especially in the village? At least I stayed in the village. My daddy's elder brother and his wife, and most of the time he travels. There was no phone for them to communicate then. He travels 1 week, 2 weeks for business and come back, no issue, no problem. And well, if they will fight, it's just like a minor thing, something that will happen, they'll just argue about it and they settle it there. So there was no, and most parents, like most marriages like that in the village. So there was no this complaint about lack of communication, lack of trust and all that. So I was wondering, like I wanted to ask that, what exactly is lacking in our own time, and or how were they managing their own homes, that there were no divorce or like fights all the time, problem upon problem, like the marriages and relationships of nowadays.
Yeah, Pastor, let me just answer this one quickly. One of the problems we're having today is technology. We know too much. We're knowing too much these days. Everybody is on phone. This technology called phone has destroyed a lot of homes. And because we're now knowing too much, knowledge shall increase and men shall run to and fro. That's what we're seeing in our in our contemporary society, where everybody is comparing. We're comparing too much book, too much knowledge, too much electronics. Formerly, even when I met my husband, there was not too much phones. We used to use radio message, where you'd be radioing somebody in Jingri will hear, say radio over. You know, you write letters, and it used to be sweet, you know. So you have less to worry about. But now we have too much to worry about because of technology. So we need to watch out for technology. It has destroyed a lot of homes. So if you're conscious of technology and put these things aside and just focus on your marriage and your home and the love that has been expressed to you, and try to close your ears and move forward in certain things that you need to then do. That's what I have to say a little bit on that. Let's go on, please. Sorry.
All right, Michael, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much for the privilege to share and also to ask. Thank you for the presenter and Dr. Theodore Dixon. I want to quickly ask a question. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes.
I believe you do. I want to ask a situation where you met your woman at a particular body shape, and by the time you start the relationship and you see her adding more weight, and you discuss with her, and you also make a possible solution to go to the gym or do exercise, and she refuse, and you are not actually okay with the body weight adding. So how do we go about it? Because I know that has been a challenge in some relationships. So how do you go about it? What is your take on that?
If I may ask, is it in marriage or in courtship?
Both in courtship, in marriage.
Okay, both cannot be classified as the same anyways. If it's in courtship and you've met someone and over time the person is adding weight and you don't like the person's weight, and the person, you've tried to convince the person to try and work on his or her weight, and the person seems not to be compliant, I would say at this juncture, whatever you cannot manage, and you know you can't, because there is, when you go out in the crowd and you're not proud of that person, what's the essence? Because you make less of that person in the public. So if you're not able and you're not proud of that person while you're dating, why go into it in the first place? But if it's in marriage and the person begins to add weight in marriage, you are one of the contributing factors to the reason why she's adding. So if she's adding, you try to make effort, because at that point, there's no going back, my darling. At the point where she's adding weight and she's your wife, it has nothing to do with the relationship. The relationship supersedes weight adding. That's very, very insignificant. But if you feel that you need to work on her weight, then why don't you communicate with her? Talk with her nicely, like the husband that you are. She will listen to you. There are some people that have got some kind of family planning, hormonal kind of challenges, because we are women. And there are a lot of times we want to grow slim. We add weight not because of food. We exercise and yet we add weight because we now keep building muscles. There are a lot of contributing factors that make a woman to add weight, because every time the woman goes into different hormonal stages and levels, from the menstrual ovulation to getting pregnant, to having children, to breastfeeding, to dropping weight, to menopause, to premenopause, and all of those times it just keeps dwindling up and down. And you as a man, if you are not mature enough to manage a woman in that regard, then don't even get married at all, because women have every tendency to change. It doesn't even stop at weight adding. It extends to breast sagging, weight dropping, muscles dropping, the facial expressions will change, wrinkles will come on the person's face. And if you cannot carry the weight in pregnancy, are you able to carry the wrinkles that will come? Are you able to carry the sagging of the breast? Are you able to carry the sagging of the tummy, of the laps, of the thighs? Are you able to carry the changes in the tone in her voice and the gray hairs that will come up? Are you able to? So for women, their weight gain and weight loss is determinant on so many things. So when you look at that individual and you're not able to, then it's better you quit before you start. I'm sorry, I also cut in. We're supposed to take all the questions first.
No problem. I understand you prefer.
Oh, please, oh, doctor, oh, please, oh, I have something to chip in. Please, am I permitted to do that?
Go ahead quickly, like 2 seconds.
Okay, in situation, thank you for the first answer. Secondly, I want to know, because I still looking for a way to go about this. I have some friends around me that I need to give a quick answer to this one. A situation where they are planning to get married, and they are working hard to save this money, and they are using the lady's account to save this money. And this money, they are saving the money in order to prepare for their marriage. So I don't know, what is your take, your advice on this one? Is it actually wise? Is it good for the man to save the marriage ceremonies? I don't know, the money in his own account and all that.
Sorry
in our own account, rather.
Sorry to interject. There's a session of money, so you can save that for, except you are talking of in terms of trust with the money. then we can go ahead because I'm trying to.
Yeah, actually, we're talking about in terms of trust.
Okay.
Will you trust her to that extent of saving the money in her own account?
Why
So that's
not?
what I'm asking.
If it's an agreement between both of you, we will always ask who is the one who is more economical. If it's the woman, why not? If it's the man, why not? Whoever helps make that marriage work and the program work, why not? Because both of you are going to be together. So if you've got that dependability and trust and faith that definitely she's going to keep the money and you are not able to keep that money because you might squander it and spend it, don't you allow her to keep it so that the marriage can work, so that the programs can run well? There's no hard and fast rules about that. She's free to keep the money.
All right, thank you very much. So I have a question here in the chat box. It says, you said trust is earned in a situation where your girlfriend believes that plans between the spouses should be kept within the relationship, but the boyfriend believes his parents and siblings should be let into everything because of the bond of the family. How do you handle this? So they feel things should be handled together as a couple, but the guy, goes around and speaks to the siblings and the parents and let them in on everything that's happening. So that's like painting a background for the question that was asked. So any quick response to that, because we have
if the lady is comfortable with that, because there are some families, there are ways some families are bonded, that they all do things together. They might find it difficult to break, but if it's in your favor, why stress yourself? In fact, during my wedding, I really knew how it was planned. I just let them plan it. And I wear my wedding dress to the wedding. If your spouse wants the parents to assist in things, let them plan, go ahead. But if it's affecting you, sit down with your spouse and talk to him and say, no now. Especially if it's got some negative rebounds. But if there is no challenge with it, and you feel you guys can continue that way, that's good. But if you cannot cope with it, then you have to watch it. But before that time, sit him down properly. Let him know the pros and cons of his action and what it will result in future. And if that is what he still wants to continue with, and you know you're not going to cope with that, back off.
All right. Another one goes, does our trust for our partners precludes us from listening / entertaining concerns about our spouses from people? So if we have trust in your spouse, does that mean you should just neglect what other people are saying from the outside?
It does not mean you will neglect. You pay less attention to it. Don't make it anything. Don't make them feel you're listening to what they are saying, especially when you possibly know already is true or you know is not true. But don't make a big deal out of it, because a lot of people have allowed things from the outside to break their homes. Why don't you allow the love and the bond you share with your husband to foster? Allow him to tell you whatever he tells you, accept it, because that's the truth. I can't listen to my husband tell me something and you're telling me something from outside. My darling, I'm sorry, I'm not listening to you. Because whatever he tells me is true. So what you're coming to tell me, whatever you feel, I won't listen to it. Especially as long as it doesn't affect me. And I've seen that it's not affecting me and it's not true. But if people are telling you things from outside, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. Like, be careful. Be careful. Be very careful about what they say, especially as it might affect your relationship, because a lot of people don't come out to tell you what they see in their own relationships. So you need to be extremely careful.
All right. One more question. What happens? Okay, I think she later answered this, asked this herself. She was asking what happens if trust keeps breaking and breaking and breaking. So I think we have, okay, thank you, Ma. My question is, in a situation where it seems like one party sacrifices their time to be with the other party, and the other party gives their time only in their free time, or when they deem it fit to do so, what do you advise? So one party is sacrificing time, maybe he's at work, he gets message from the girl, he quickly goes to the bathroom, replies, he's in church, he gets the message quickly, like he finds a way to communicate to the other party, where the other party hardly communicates, maybe she's on break and she sends message, but she doesn't go the extra length, she doesn't make sacrifices to communicate. So what is your advice on that situation?
There's a challenge there. It's just like a lot of people call me to say that they don't get my husband when he's at work. When they call him, he doesn't pick, he doesn't respond. If I call my husband now and he's at work, I know he's going to respond to me. I know when I send him messages, I'm not leaking the secrets. Don't call me to call him more.
I have noted that down. So anytime I need to, that's on a lighter note. Go ahead.
Yes. So once he sees my call, he knows he needs to answer it. And there's something very urgent. And once I see his call, whatever I'm doing, I'll take an excuse and say, please excuse me, my husband, something important. And I'll just take the call for a second or two, because he definitely knows I'm at work. I know he's at work. And for us to give ourselves a call, something must have happened. So if your partner, don't call the person, you know what times, communicate the person to know what times the person is free. But when the person is not free and there's a call coming, let the person know when it's urgent. It's not just you're calling to say, how are you? Have you eaten today? I say, let me check on you. It needs to be something like you, because you know the person's timing. But then there still needs to be that sacrifice in communication. There needs to be that sacrifice in communication. Once it is established, the person cannot come up with excuses to tell you, I'm busy all the time. The person is busy. No, watch it. Something is wrong somewhere. You need to be careful.
All right, we need to be careful. So on that fidelity, on that question about not listening to others, the last question on that says, what if it's a case of infidelity that the people from the outside are talking about, maybe with proofs that there's something fishy going on? So should you still neglect that, or what should you do?
That's a sensitive matter that needs urgent address. It needs to be addressed immediately. So this is something you need to ask your husband directly to say, I'm hearing certain things. Is this true? Can you prove or disprove this, please? Because it affects the relationship and the love I've got for you. Can we talk about it, please? It's killing me.
All right, then the last question. Wow, the last question is saying, is there love in any relationship where there is no sacrifice?
Is there love in any relationship where there is no? Love is all about sacrifice.
All right.
Love is all about sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son.
And I can say that this session has been all about sacrifice, because we are 27 minutes behind. We have eaten up 28 minutes of your time. And we know that in the UK, time is money. I hope you don't send me a bill to pay the extra 28 minutes that we have taken from your time. I'm sure Pastor Dixon can handle that. I trust him. I saw his suit today, and it's quite a good suit. So if he sells that off, he can be able to pay you.
I trust him on that.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in on today's session.
Patrick, don't put me into trouble, Patrick.
I don't know if my husband has got anything to add, please.
Yes, that's the next thing I want to say. I can still see him, and I can still see that he has been very much on the.
Patrick, you don't even understand. It is not only her husband; even her father is online.
Her father's
Pa-
online. Wow.
The,
This
the,
is this
ori-
is
the
this is
original pastor, the original pastor GC is online. Don't even joke with that. Everybody is online. This is
at
the serious matter.
the
Eh?
beginning. I welcomed all the family members, but I didn't know the dad is around
All right.
and the
Yes,
sister. So
yes.
Oh,
this
I
is
appreciate my dad being here.
we are blessed. We are blessed. We are blessed. So Pastor EKPENDU, anything you would like to add? Pastor Wogugu, welcome also. We would also like to hear from you before we end our session today. So Pastor EKPENDU.
Well, it was a good presentation. I don't have much to add. That's a good initiative. I thank my HOD for this wonderful initiative. You should keep it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
are still the boss. I'm only following you from behind.
Pastor, the original Pastor GC, I don't know if he's still on the call. We would like to hear from you, and if there's anything you'd like to add.
I can no longer find him.
Oh, okay. So wow, it's been quite an insightful evening, and I can see from the turnout today.
My sister is dead. Does she want to say anything?
She also, as she's getting ready to say something, she also remember that she'll give us the closing prayer, because we've been seeing her face, but we didn't hear her voice. So if she doesn't have anything to say, she will do the closing prayer for us. But I don't know.
Allow her to say something else so that they don't drag you to court.
Let me say something. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, I want to say thank you. I think I gained a lot from this program, and I want to say thank you to everybody, especially Pastor Theodore, my personal person. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. CHIOMA EKPENDU. Thank you, Patrick. It's an encouraging program, and I want it for us to keep doing this program to help people in their relationship.
Wow. Thank you very much, ma. I don't know, my Oga at the top, the coordinator, Mr. Chibike, Dr. Chibike, I don't know if you have any announcements you would like to pass. And also, on behalf of the team, we would like to specially thank Dr. Mrs. CHIOMA EKPENDU and the entire family at large for honoring this beautiful request. It's something that we have learned a lot from just this session you have given us. We have learned so much, and we pray and hope that your marriage will continue to be a blissful one. We shall continue to hear good news from a family. We shall continue to, rub off the fun and excitement that is in your family. And we know that the Lord will bless you, the Lord will protect you, the Lord will guide you. As you are in the UK hustling for all of us, we pray that the Lord will continue to bless you financially so that, I don't know, this call, you can get my account number and send me. So we thank you for that. We thank Pastor Ike for helping you and the children. I saw Divine, and I know that he must have put in 1 or 2 inputs. And you mentioned the girls also, so I'm sure the girls also had a lot of inputs. And we pray that the family shall keep on moving from strength to strength. So we are grateful, we are thankful, and we'll send a virtual gift to you. And I don't want you to open it until you get home. So I've sent the gift on behalf of the team. You can see it in the chat box. So accept it as our widow's mite, and we hope that whenever we call you again, you will answer us.
All right.
Tomorrow we'll have interesting sessions as well. We'll be having communication. This session we had our presenter, Dr. Mr. EKPENDU, talk about communication is key to trust, and trust is key to love. So tomorrow we'll get to find out exactly what is that big word communication 101. I'll have Dr. and Mrs. Olaure who will be handling that between 2 to 4. Trust me, you don't want to miss that. We also have Money Matters. I'm sure that's something that will excite a lot of people. Between the hours of 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., we'll have Professor Michael Akpa handle that with us. And we hope that the Lord will replenish all of us for our data we are spending, and the Lord will provide for us so that this little sacrifice we are making will drip off in our homes. And for those of us that are still searching, to rip off in our search. And for those that are found, to rip off in the preparation for your little heaven on earth. So Mrs. Wakama Chinaza, you would lead us in the closing prayer. Then after that, you can turn on your videos and your mics and just wave and greet each other before we end the meeting. So Mrs. Chinaza.
Let's pray. Our Father and our God in heaven, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity where we can gather and discuss about our relationship. Father, Lord, we pray that our homes here will be like that in heaven.
Amen.
We pray that your love will continue to strengthen us, because without you, we know that nothing can happen. We pray that your love will continue to abide with us, that you continue to make our homes to be in love and in unity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you very
Amen.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, we honor you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
Jojo. Jojo
Welcome.
speaking all the way from
Thank
Umuahia.
you.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
not you
So
now.
yes, ma, I'm loyal.
Thank
I'm
you,
loyal.
everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. How is our justice doing, ma?
He's fine, thank you.
Greetings to him.
Yeah.
Hi,
Joshua,
Dr. Shitu.
hello.
Dr. Shitu, thank you for being here.
I beg to leave you guys now. Thank you.
Thank
you very much,
you so
ma'am.
much. Thank you.
Hello, Charles.
We appreciate
Good evening.
everyone.
Abigail, hello.
Mrs. Zenjoko, thank you.
Hi,
for
Abigail. How
coming
are you
tonight.
doing? Good evening.
Thank you, friends from Bayelsa, Port Harcourt, Imo State. Thank you, everyone. So see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Thank
You can't
you.
afford to miss with my mentor.
Hi, Philip.
Thank you,
Hi,
Nani.
good night.
Thank you, my friends from Zambia. We appreciate you, or from the Gambia, sorry. We appreciate you, everyone.
All
Good
right.
night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's
Thank you,
been a
Patrick,
pleasure.
Patrick, for the coordination.
We thank God,
Thank
sir.
you. God bless.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's have a nice evening. And
Right. Night, night.
Yeah, bye.